Hello everybody, Stellaris 2.0 has just released, and along with it has come a whole host of redesigns and outright new features. In this video I'm going to walk you through the 5 biggest changes in the Cherryh update in case you haven't tried it out for yourself yet. So the first major change you'll notice in 2.0 is that Empire borders now look all squiggly. This is because borders and how you expand has changed dramatically. Previously, occupying planets and building frontier outposts would extend your borders and your border strength outwards. This often leads to empires pushing up against each other and the more dense empire taking over the weaker empire's borders without them even being at war. But this is no more. Border strength has been completely removed, as have frontier outposts, and colonizing planets doesn't contribute to your expansion. In 2.0, expansion is done with constructor ships and influence. Once you've surveyed a system, you can use the constructor ship to build a starbase for a small amount of minerals and influence. The influence amount is determined by how many hyperlane jumps you need to do before you get there from your own territory. This means if you found a gateway or a wormhole to the other side of the galaxy, it doesn't cost a crazy amount to expand through it. A side effect of system expansion is that it slows down your science research and your Unity production. At least with expansion you can gain some natural research back in the systems, but Unity will require you to take planets or build habitats, so expand carefully. Starbases are a completely new addition to the 2.0 Cherryh update. Starbases all start off as an outpost, which is used to extend your borders as mentioned before. Outposts have no limit, you can build as many as you want, however upgrading them will contribute to your starbase limit, which is determined by your empire size, your pops, and various other factors like traditions. Once you start upgrading the starbase, you'll get access to modules, buildings, and defenses. Modules will allow for things like an anchorage, which increases your fleet capacity, or a shipyard, which allows for construction of fleets. Now previously, planets would have spaceports that allowed construction of fleets, but these have been removed in place of starbases. Now with starbases and their modules, you can build multiple shipyards in order to be able to recruit multiple ships simultaneously. Starbases also have building slots. With these you can gear your starbase for better defense, extra resource production, or faster ship production. There are also unique buildings for systems that contain enclaves and other buildings unlocked through unique technologies. Starbases all have automatically designed firepower. You can't control what goes on them, but can receive tech upgrades to make them better. However, you can build defensive platforms on a starbase to bulk up its firepower. These can then be redesigned in the ship designer if you want to tailor your defenses in a certain way. In 2.0, you now have a naval capacity limit and a fleet command limit. Your naval capacity works as before, it's the total number of fleet size you can field, and it's a soft cap. It allows you to exceed it with exponential penalties. The newly added command limit is a hard cap on how big any single fleet can be. You can't go over it, and you can't merge fleets if there's no room in the command limit. This, along with some changes to war, is to help prevent doom stacks where a large empire has just one massive unbeatable fleet and combat is a very short and quick affair. To help you manage the multiple fleets, we now have the Fleet Manager. This screen is pretty involved, but essentially it allows you to make fleet templates. When creating a new template, you can assign it a commander, a home base, and then add ship designs to it. These are made before like usual in the ship designer, or you can just use the auto-generated ones if you want. So once you've outlined what you want in your template, you can click the Reinforce button. This will then activate all of your nearest shipyards to begin production on the ships needed. Once created, the ships will then make their way to the fleet. Now these little ships don't show up on the outliner, but they are in the galaxy traversing across it like any other fleet. If they run into combat, or they get new orders from you directly, they'll actually become their own fleet. Luckily though, there's no limit to the amount of fleets you can create, or templates you can create. Hyperlane travel has always been in Stellaris, but now it's mandatory for all empires to use it. No longer can you use warp drives or wormhole drives. Because of this, you can no longer jump into a system and jump out at the same spot without even traversing it. This adds a much greater tactical depth to the galaxy and positioning of defenses. You can now defend choke points with large fleets or defensive stations, and you know exactly where other empires have to jump in and out. Later on you can unlock jump drives which allow you to basically warp from one place to another in space, but they have a very long cooldown time and you'll be regulated to hyperlane travel while the cooldown is in effect. This means late game tech allows you to bypass some choke points, but you'll be left idle for a while if you want to jump back where you came from. You'll also suffer a significant penalty to sublight speed and to combat while your jump drive repowers, so you want to make sure you don't use it when you're jumping into combat. It's usually better to jump away. The other method of getting around are gateways and wormholes. Gateways are dotted around the map and all interlink with each other. Entering any gateway will lead to any other gateway. A gateway is a man-made object though and requires a gateway technology and then a lump sum mineral payment to activate it, similar to a megastructure. Unless you have 2 gateways in your system, then you'll rely on other empires to activate theirs before you can travel around. Wormholes, on the other hand, are binary and have a specific entry and exit points. Similar to gateways, you'll need to get a wormhole technology to use them and then just survey it with a scientist. That will then reveal its exit point on the map. Unlike gateways, you don't need the other end to be activated as they're a naturally occurring phenomenon. War has received several reworks in multiple areas as a result of the fleet manager, the command limit, starbase placement and how hyperlanes work now, but the most direct change has come in the form of the claim manager. Previously, war goals were determined at the start of a war, and it costs a certain amount of war score to demand something of an enemy, whether it be taking a planet, liberating a nation, vassalizing, or whatever it may have been. This has all been replaced in favor of the claim manager, whereby you can claim star systems for a certain amount of influence, and the further away the system, the higher the influence. You make claims on territories in times of peace, obviously angering the nation you're claiming things from. This allows you to make claims over time against multiple nations and make your intentions known. Claiming too much, however, will make achieving the war goal much more difficult, so it's better to claim just what you think you can achieve in one war. So those are the top 5 major changes in Stellaris 2.0. Remember, these changes are completely free of charge. You do not need the DLC Apocalypse to get them. It just arrived alongside Apocalypse, so kudos to Paradox for overhauling the game in such a good way for free. There's plenty of other changes too, such as the introduction of a new war exhaustion mechanic, forcing a status quo if wars drag on too long or too much damage is taken by one side. Ships are now fitted differently than before, with power shifting to the side slots. New galaxy options are there for customizing your experience. New technologies and buildings and more have all been added or reworked. It feels like a brand new game, way beyond just quality of life changes, so I highly recommend diving back into Stellaris if you haven't already and checking the map. Now that's all from me. I've got more Stellaris videos planned, so please leave a like if you like this one and subscribe if you want to see more Stellaris videos.